Give him a round of applause for this meal. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Go ahead.
We would also like to thank our lovely presenters for coming down tonight all the way from Edmonton. We're very excited to have you here and learn from your wisdom.
Yeah. We have a little bit of information here about our presenters. I'll start with Mark and Terry, these two lovely people here. And so I'll just read a little bit of their bio here. So Mark and Terry, they attended a Marriage Encounter weekend in 1998 and have been involved with the Marriage Encounter community ever since. In 2011, they took training to become presenters for Marriage Encounter weekends in Edmonton. They work to help build and mentor a team of presenters and present with them on the weekends. They serve on the Interfaith Board of Worldwide Marriage Encounter and are part of the Canadian Executive. This vibrant, ecumenical, okay. I'm sorry, I don't know what that means. Marriage Encounter community has set goals to revive and support married couples in all faith expressions across Canada. They are now combining the teams across Canada and with them offering new Marriage Encounter experiences. Mark and Terry will have been married 45 years this March, have 3 married children, 12 grandchildren. Emmy has been instrumental for them in learning how to share deeply with each other.
Doug and Leanne Struve have been married for 41 years and love spending time with their family of 4, 1 son and 3 daughters. They also have 10 grandchildren and 3 great-grandchildren. With kids living in Edmonton, BC, and Ontario, they love to travel and go visit all of them. They were both married before and so have experienced the challenges of a blended family. They went to their first Marriage Encounter weekend 12 years ago, which really helped enrich their marriage. They continue to serve with the Marriage Encounter community as presenters and enjoy the fellowship they have being part of 2 Marriage Encounter small groups. They also serve at Balula Alliance Church on the marriage leadership team, helping couples enrich their marriages. They were snowbirds going to Yuma for years, but are now spending their winters in Edmonton and love walking in the river valley at almost any temperature.
And then we have Martin and Nesta here. Have been married for 53 years, but it feels more like 5. Members, sorry, it's falling down. There we go. Members of the Dayspring Presbyterian Church in Edmonton since 1988. They have lived in 4 countries, came to Canada in 1982, and enjoyed their first Marriage Encounter weekend in 91, before joining the presentation team in 2013. Nesta was previously a physiotherapist, and Martin's career included landscaping, architecture, and leadership coaching. They have 2 married adult children and 2 grandchildren, one family in Edmonton, the other in Yellowknife. They enjoyed a very active lifestyle, including cycling, ballroom dancing, swimming, spending quiet time in nature with their travel trailer, painting in watercolors, playing cards, and entertaining.
And we'd like to now welcome them up to do their presentation.
Terry, where's the outline?
The outline? You were supposed to bring the outline, Mark.
No, I wasn't.
Mark, I specifically told you to put it in the bag before we came and put it in the car.
You did not.
Why do you always do this to me? There you go. You're always avoiding. You're never responsible for anything.
Listen, why don't you do this? This was your idea.
Well, I don't have an outline or anything now.
Well, you can fake it because you're so good at that. You always are able to work these kind of things out. I never even wanted to be here. Anybody here can tell that, right?
Fine. I can't trust you anymore.
You're right. You can't trust me. I am out of here. You take care of this. Have fun, everybody.
I'm really sorry. I think I'm going to just have to leave you for a minute. I'll go and solve this. I'll be right back.
Well, I bet you didn't expect that. What you saw was a play, but sadly, we have fought like that in the past. After what you just saw, it might be hard to believe that we are passionate about the sacredness of marriage. We became involved with Marriage Encounter first as participants and now as presenters. And from that experience, Heidi and Dan asked us to be here.
Our marriage walk together has not been easy. We've needed counseling over many seasons in our married life. We have tackled the temptation to separate. We've had to deal with lust, workaholism, idolatry, and extreme personality and communication differences. We've had to decide over and over to believe in our vows and stand on them when we needed to. We're continually coming back to them, and when we break them, we return with repentance, and we realize that marriage is a gift that can be lost.
We have learned to surrender our marriage to God and ask God to give it back daily. We realize the truth of God's words about marriage. We believe that marriage is a holy triangle of Terry, God, and me. We realize that as a couple, we are a mini church. So the goal of this session is to help you never fight like that and realize that you can resolve conflicts in a positive way without destroying your relationship with your spouse. So let's now focus on Ephesians 4:25 to 32 and see what God has to say about conflict.
It's up on the screen there too. We'll just read it for everybody. So from now on, there must be no more lies. Speak the truth to one another, since we are all parts of one another. Even if you're angry, do not sin. Never let the sun go down on your anger, or else you will give a foothold to the devil. Anyone who was a thief must stop stealing. Instead, he should exert himself at some honest job with his own hands, so that he may have something to share with those in need. No foul word should ever come across your lips. Let your words be for the improvement of others as occasion offers, and do good to your listeners. Do not grieve the Holy Spirit of God, who has marked you with his seal, ready for the day when we will be set free. Any bitterness or bad temper or anger or shouting or abuse must be far removed from you, as must every kind of malice. Be generous to one another, sympathetic, forgiving each other as readily as God forgave you in Christ. So, do you remember, not long ago, the fight when we first came in? What you witnessed was, as Mark said, it was destructive. It was a destructive conflict that wounded us. And what we'd like to do now is review what you saw, what you heard, and what you felt. And so we're just going to kind of get the audience to sort of give a reflection back to us.
Yeah. So just shout it out. What did you feel, see, or hear when you saw Terry and I going at it like that? Any feelings? Anger?
For sure.
Disappointment, yeah. Right. We call that garbage dumping. You always. You never. Sadly, I've used that a lot. Anything else? What did I do with my body? Yeah, I kind of stepped away, right? I turned my back to Terry. So the body language makes a big difference in an argument like that. What else? What else did you feel? What did you feel in your gut when you saw us arguing? Thank you. Disconnection. Embarrassment, right.
I don't know if anyone can see these.
Embarrassment.
Okay.
Well, thank you for that. Thanks for sharing with that aspect about it.
So now we've seen
Oh, no, actually,
we now have had a handout given around to you, and what is on the back side of that is what the bad fighting habits are. And there's a list of them.
So if you go to the last page in your handout, you'll see a list of bad fighting habits. So I'm just going to go over the things that I did in that awful fight that we had. So I was really critical to Terry. I was sarcastic. I didn't call her appropriate names, nor was I on drugs or alcohol, though I drank a lot of that bubbly juice. I did place blame for sure, and as we discussed already, I garbage dumped. You always, you never. I am an avoider of conflict, which has really hurt our marriage. And so you saw my body language and me just running out of the door and leaving her, as I've often done, sadly, in the past, to handle things alone. I was distant and unaffectionate, and I wanted to be right. I needed to win. Terry, what did you find out?
Well, for me, for sure, the garbage dumping, you heard me say, I'll never trust you and all those kinds of always and never kinds of things. That was the big one for me, and I wanted to be right. I was really trying to stand my ground and blame. So those were, for me, the most important ones. So just with that sheet, there's one for each of you, in each couple has their own. You don't have to do that now, because we're doing a presentation now, but if you'd like to take that home with you, the whole handout will go with you, but just try to take some time to go over individually which are some of the bad habits that you have, and then you can switch them together and talk about them, and then try to keep them in your mind to try not to do those. And over time, hopefully you'll get better at it. So that's that. So, okay. So then how do we actually fight fairly if what we just observed that's the easiest thing to do, and we're all, I'm sure, have had these kinds of bad, destructive fights. What do we need for developing a positive way? We're not trying to teach about avoiding conflict. That's not the point. Conflict can be a positive thing if it doesn't destroy one another in the meantime. And if it leads to resolution and a deeper relationship without that destruction, then it can be a very positive thing. So to do that...
That's me. To do that, we have the following guidelines to fighting fair for marriage encounters. It should be on the front sheet that you have there. That we've learned work for us. Remember, the term fight, in the way we use it, never refers to any physical or mental violence. So let's just go through the list here. Number one, remember that criticism and sarcasm wound people and destroy our capacity to belong to each other. Avoid criticism in the conflict. Avoid name-calling and character assassination. Number two. Number three, never fight when one or both of you are under the influence of alcohol or drugs. Number four, it's an absolute waste of time to place blame. The milk's already been spilled. Work at moving forward. 5, avoid using those absolutes or garbage dumping. You always, you never, every time. And that's something I have to really work hard on catching. And as soon as I catch that, I try to stop and just gain context again. Finish the fight, and this is a hard one for me. Even if there are tears, be sensitive, but do not walk away. Continue to fight for your relationship. Do not bring in third parties. A parent, a friend, a person at work has no part in your confrontation. The real problem is often miscommunication. And that's something we really focus on in marriage encounter. And stay physically close to each other. An affectionate touch helps each to know that there's nothing that cannot be worked out in love. And this, number 9, is probably one of the most important ones to remember in the middle of a conflict. The issue under discussion is never as important as the two of you are. Being right is not as important as being in relationship. The issue is outside you. And number 10, fight for clarification, not to win. If I win the fight, I'm sleeping with a loser.
Not good.
So let's replay the fight that we had the first time, but this time in hopefully a fairer way. Hi, everybody. Terry, do you have the outline?
Mark, I thought you had it. I thought you had it.
Oh, I was supposed to bring it? Oh, I remember. You told me to put it in the car. I was just so cold, and I was thinking of where was this town anyways, Withrow? And I couldn't, I'm so sorry. I don't know what to say. How are you feeling?
Well, as you can see, I'm rather disappointed, and I must admit I'm quite angry, actually.
Oh, so sorry. So what's the focus of your anger then?
Well, I'd like to blame you, but I must admit I take some responsibility because I was probably not making it clear in our rush to get into the car. So, yeah, I'm more angry at myself. But really, we don't have an outline. So, what are we going to do?
Oh man, I remember. It was like the time that I went to the client, and Anne was supposed to bring the proposal, and she forgot it. And then I realized, oh shoot, I wasn't very clear on how she was going to handle it.
Well, yeah, my anger was like that for sure.
Oh, Tara, I'm so sorry. I really blew it, and we don't have an outline. I feel terrible. That I caused this? What are we going to do about it?
Well, I mean, should we text somebody? Maybe they could bring it here or something like that.
No, well, let's just really focus on the problem. Do you think we could just do it out of our head?
Well, not right now. I'm just sort of really nervous and kind of a little upset, so I don't think that'd be a good idea.
Right.
What are we going to do?
I got it. I'll log on to our server back home, and I've got the outline there. I'll download it, and then I'll be able to bring it here, and we can just read it off my phone.
Well, it's not a bad idea, but I don't know how long we can wait, how long people can wait for us to get our act together. But
Well, they got coffee and tea here. This should be good. So about 5 minutes, would that work?
well, maybe 2 minutes, but I don't know what else to do.
Okay, well, listen, why don't you just tell them some jokes? You're really good at jokes. And I'll go run out and go get that, okay?
Okay, well,
Okay.
hurry up.
Okay, I'm on it.
Get going. Okay, well, while Mark's gone, I'll try to give you guys some jokes. So, my husband and I agreed to fight fairly. So, we decided that we should fight in the living room because the bedroom is off limits. We don't want to go there. But the kitchen, that's where we can be neutral territory and we can negotiate with the snacks. We promised also to never go to bed angry, so now we just stay up all night and stare at each other in silence.
Okay, I got it, Terry. Thanks, everybody. Sorry for your patience. We'll just run through the whole presentation again. Thank you so much. Hope you enjoyed it.
table? We don't have the little red table. Between us?
Are we going to? Are we going to see the video? Are we going to see the video?
Yep.
Are we going?
You can play the video, please.
I love my little helper in the car. She knows everything about driving. It's very convenient for me. But sometimes I get confused. See, I don't know how I get anywhere without my helper in the car. I'd probably be bouncing off trees and buildings and stuff, but she's there to help. Like, she tells me when the light changes colors and everything. It's very convenient and helpful. Like, it's green. Thank you, Albert. Because I was confused. I didn't know. You get married, you're a guy, you get a little helper in the car. I love my little helper in the car.
Okay, that's it.
She
Thanks.
knows everything about driving it.
Okay. In every marriage, hurts can accumulate and become barriers to intimacy. This is why God has provided the gift of healing as part of our covenant, and we make use of it by asking for and giving forgiveness. Let's watch an example. Doug and Leanne are driving to their winter home in Yuma. Doug is less verbal than Leanne, so his default mode is silence. On the other hand, Leanne responds so well to emergencies, her family nickname is Commando Girl. They usually love the shoulder-to-shoulder time together, but for the second year in a row, they miss an important junction, the exit from Interstate 15 at Las Vegas onto the Henderson Highway.
In 500 feet, turn right.
Oh no, I'm in the wrong lane and there's too much traffic and no time to merge. I missed the exit. I can't believe I missed the exit again.
Doug, you missed that turn again? I just can't believe this has happened.
Make a U-turn when possible. Recalculating.
Now, Doug, you've missed a whole bunch of exits, and you know, I really think we should turn around. Why are we still going this way? I really think you should pull over at the next exit so we can check the map.
What do you want me to do?
Well, I have suggested that we look at the map to see how we can get back on track again. And you're not listening to the GPS. So, you know, I don't really care what you do.
Last year, when we missed this exit, I listened to the GPS and ended up in an unsavory part of the city. And I didn't want that to happen again. Friends in Yuma told me that if I missed that exit, just to continue straight on for about 15 miles past Vegas to a cutover, that would get me back on track. Trying to avoid conflict, I stubbornly refused to share this with Leanne and remained silent. After all, how does one talk to an erupting volcano?
Well, you know, I was so looking forward to an early arrival and a relaxing glass of wine on our deck. You know, time is just ticking away, and my frustration is growing into more and more anger as he ignores me. Doug, we just passed the sign for California. Are we going to end up in Los Angeles? I'm so seething inside. I do feel like a volcano that's about to erupt. But you know, I think I better keep my mouth shut. I'm actually biting my tongue, or I'm going to do serious damage to this relationship. I can't believe what's happening. This is the trip from hell.
Leanne has never in all of our years of marriage been so angry with me. She must despise me. I worry that our relationship is broken.
Back en route, Doug and Leanne stopped for a picnic lunch. Normally this would be carefree and relaxing, but not today, as an icy silence reigns. On the road again for the final leg of the journey, they travel on, the silence frigid. An hour later, Doug chooses yet another new route through Parker, Arizona, not the Donkey Trail directly south to Yuma.
Oh, my goodness. Now where are we going? We should have gone straight back there. And now we've got a sign that says we're going to Phoenix. Are we ever going to get to Yuma today?
Leanne is volcanically furious with yet another new route, and Doug is in a bunker of cold silence, not saying a word about his new plan. A few hours later, they finally arrive, the tension unbearable. When the car door opens, it's like stepping out of a cold meat locker. But thankfully, the temperature in Yuma is a lovely 26 degrees.
What a nightmare day that was.
I just missed an exit. It's not that big of a deal.
What Doug didn't know is that it was a big deal to Leanne, but he totally ignored her. Leanne had a plan, and every missed exit drove it further and further away. Because of their raw emotions, Doug and Leanne unpacked the car in silence, totally absorbed in their own thoughts.
After the car was unpacked, I had to take some quiet time with God. I really needed to ask Him to soften my heart and my temper towards Doug. You know, I just don't ever remember being this mad at him.
Convinced that our relationship was in jeopardy, I prayed for reconciliation and the courage and humility to admit wrongdoing and asked Leanne for forgiveness.
Well, early in our marriage, I probably would have stayed mad at you for days, giving you the cold shoulder, maybe even weeks. But you know, I don't want to behave like that anymore, Doug. I'm really sorry for the way I did behave. I was out of control. I was out of line, and I should have never lost my temper the way I did. Can you forgive me?
Of course, Leanne. I'm sorry too. My stubbornness was unacceptable. I should have had better communication with you. I should have told you what my plan was when I missed the turn in Vegas, and later when I chose the new route to Parker, through Parker. I relied on myself and not on us as a couple to solve this problem. My silence just added fuel to your anger.
Can you forgive my outburst?
Yes, I forgive you. Can you forgive me for not sharing with you and for my stubbornness?
Yes, I forgive you, Doug, and thank you for forgiving me. And I love you.
And I love you too, Leanne.
Notice the shift in atmosphere when forgiveness was offered and accepted. Healing began and intimacy was restored. The power of forgiveness is immense. It can mend brokenness and bring renewed life to our relationships. Remember, healing is a process available to all of us through Christ's love and grace.
Well, this was a very bad experience and one that I never, ever want to relive. I, commando girl, took the matter into my own hands, and I came up with a whole new route. One that totally bypasses that nightmare exit in Las Vegas, and we now go through Henderson. I also banned Doug from ever driving through Las Vegas again. And, you know, it has really helped restore the happiness and peace in our marriage. I love you, Doug.
And I love my little helper in the car.
That was based on a true experience.
Please stand. Now, if your doctor allows you, just stretch really tall, high as you can go, a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right, backwards. Shake your left arm, right arm, both arms at once, left leg, right leg. Both legs at once? Please be seated. The parking at my eye specialist is absolutely appalling. And I soon learned that if I got there after 9 o'clock, I might as well forget it. So instead, I started parking on the other side of a nearby shopping mall, walking through the mall, through the paid parking, past the library, across the crosswalk, turn left, and 30 meters down, there was my specialist's office. Much more convenient. Tell me, have any of you ever had the experience of meeting a complete stranger and immediately feeling completely comfortable? Has anybody had that experience? Nobody? Oh, yes, I see. Yeah, thank you. Well, I had an experience like that just a little bit before Christmas. I was returning from a visit to my eye specialist, and as I approached the crosswalk about 30 yards away, I saw this old man standing with some wrapped flowers in his arms. It was a miserable morning. What was the weather like here just before Christmas? Do you have some really miserable, cold days with driving wind and the horrible snows? Or was the sun shining and the temperature was plus 30? This day was miserable. And as I looked, I wasn't sure whether he was uncertain about whether there was room for us both on the sidewalk, or whether he was uncertain about crossing. And when I got to him, I said, "Morning." And he said, "Morning, are you crossing the road?" And I said, "Well, yes, I am." "Well, I wonder, would you mind if I walked with you? I'm having a cataract operation in 2 months' time, and my sight is not very good at all. My wife had the same operation about 2 months ago, and it was absolutely brilliant. Her sight is superb now." So I crossed with him. And he was walking quite slowly, as he said. He was uncertain on his feet. And I had this feeling of great pleasure just being with this man. So I slowed my pace to match his. And he said, "Tell me, what is your name?" So I said, "My name is Martin." And he said, "Wow, that is a good German name." And he had this lovely, deep German accent. And so I said to him, because he'd already told me his name was Dieter, "Whereabouts do you come from?" And he said, "I come from the Black Forest." So I had this great big beam on my face, because my first job after graduation was in Basel, Switzerland, which is next door to the Black Forest. So we talked happily about cheese fondue and kirsch and stuff like that. And we just had this immediate connection. It was quite superb. The warmth between us was absolutely wonderful. And becoming more comfortable with each other, he said, "It's my wife's birthday today. I've just been to buy her flowers." I mentioned what a miserable day it was. I later learned he'd walked 1 kilometer through driving snow in about -20 to buy his wife flowers. So this was Dieter, and when I said to him, "Well, Dieter, what sort of flowers have you bought?" And he said, "Well, it's her 90th birthday. I always buy her red roses for her birthday. Always buy her red roses." And he was obviously so happy. He was obviously so keen. And it was wonderful simply walking with him and enjoying the way he was. And I said, "Well, where are you going? Where is your wife?" And he pointed to this high rise about 600 meters away. And he said, I live in that high rise, but my wife is an old folks' home, a nursing home next door. We were separated about 3 months ago for the first time in 30 years. I have a key to the nursing home, and each day I go and see her, I feed her, and I spend time visiting with her. And that's where I'm going today, and I'm just going to stop at the mall and have a brief rest before I go on my way. And so I walked with him to the mall. It was a wonderful experience. I feel warm as I actually think about it now. It was one of these wonderful experiences which it only lasted for about 5 minutes, but I think it's going to stay in here for a lot longer than that. Dieter was going to take the flowers to his wife, and he said, I'm looking forward to seeing her so much. He said, I was married firstly when I was 20, but my first wife died when I was 40 years old, and I never thought I'd fall in love again. But I did when I was 60. We've been married for 31 years now, and I love her very, very much. And I was so touched. He was so open about his love for his wife. And I bet we all would like a love like that. A long-lasting, an everlasting love. Until, as they say, we go over the waterfall. I will always remember that time with Dieter, and I think it's a wonderful message for all of us tonight to think, what do we have to do to live our lives to be a spouse like Dieter? Please stand. And now give your Valentine a huge hug.
Okay.
Well,
Because I can't read these words that well. Is this really on?
just wait.
Oh, what a story, Martin. That pulled at our heartstrings, didn't it? But just a great, great love story. How do we get a marriage like that? How do we go about it? I think we can learn something from this. He showed us a great example of unconditional love. It was a special day. His wife was turning 90, and he had plans. He was going to get to that florist and buy her red roses. But there were a lot of obstacles he had to overcome. I mean, he couldn't walk really quickly. He had a long way to go. He must have been cold. But that wasn't going to stop him. He was going there, and he didn't have very good sight. He needed somebody to cross the road with him. That didn't stop him either. Because you know what? I bet he was a little bit anxious, a little bit worried about this, but I bet he stopped and he said a little prayer before he left home. He said, "Dear Lord, send me a young fella just at the right moment when I need to cross that road." And so he set out. Can you imagine how pleased and grateful he was to see Martin approach? So they crossed the road together and then fell into conversation. And before long, they had a wonderful connection because Dieter was German. He came from the Black Forest area. And Martin was delighted because, of course, he knew the Black Forest area. So immediately they had a lovely connection. And Dieter began to open up to Martin because he felt comfortable. And he told him about his first marriage and how years had gone by, and then a new love had come, and had 31 years more. And obviously, he was so much in love. He probably told his wife, "I love you every day." And we all want a marriage like that. Now, you may have picked up that when I went through this story, I used some feeling words like, he wanted to show his wife love by buying her red roses. He wanted to cherish her on her special day. He felt perhaps a little anxious about this whole trip, but he was determined. And so we talk about feelings a lot in Marriage Encounter. Feelings are something we all have. Oh, they come along, they spontaneously rise in us, and they're very difficult to control sometimes. But they're really important that we pay attention because they really influence the way we act and the way we say things. If we look back on those skits that we saw, when Terry and Mark had made a mistake, one of them had forgotten the outline, and soon we had a really wonderful demonstration of anger, which led to a very nasty scene. We all felt the anger. In fact, I'm sure some of you were just sitting on the edge of your seats there. When we looked at Leanne and Doug in their trip to hell, you see, Doug really couldn't share his feelings, not well, and instead he reverted to being extremely stubborn. And what did that do? Well, Leanne got so frustrated, the communication completely and utterly broke down. You see, feelings are the fundamental foundation of our communication. And it's something that we talk about a lot in Marriage Encounter, and it's something that makes an enormous difference to our lives, not just as married couples, but to all the people that we meet in our life. So this is something that we talk about feelings, and I know some of you men are saying, "Oh my goodness, we couldn't be talking about feelings." But we've given you kind of some demonstrations of where feelings can go and how you can change things. So to conclude this evening, we are now going to give you, and you're all going to, I hope, participate with this, we're going to give you a Valentine's gift to take home. And there are going to be some nice pieces of paper handed out. Everybody needs some paper and pens. And what we're going to do is ask you to write a love letter to your spouse. Now, this is something you're not going to give it them now. You're going to save it until you get home. Now, I know you're looking at me and saying, you're okay with writing, but I like texting. If you're really happy about using your phone and texting, that's fine, but don't text your spouse until you get home. It's got to be a little gift when you get home. So we're going to, this may be a little strange for you, but we want you to have a try. And we have got some writing that's going to go up on the screen here. If you need some help to get started, we've got a couple of questions up here that you might want to use. So I think they are, what puts the biggest smile on your face when you think about your spouse? You don't have to use these. These are just to help you if you need it. What do you appreciate most about your spouse? Please make it qualities and not possessions. What made you fall in love with your spouse? And what would you like to do to strengthen your marriage this year? Now, we'll just give everybody a moment to make sure we've all got something. And we're just going to give you approximately 5 minutes to put something down. Remember, this is Valentine's Day, and this is your love letter to the love of your life. Okay, I think we're ready to go. Martin is going to give us the time. Okay. So if you haven't quite finished, make sure you put Happy Valentine's, love you, or something. Fold it up. And I hope you have fun, lots of fun with that later on. And it's been a great pleasure for our team to be with you. And I hope you've enjoyed learning something with us tonight. And I think I'm handing over now to Heidi.
So yeah, we just want to say thank you so much for making the trip down from Edmonton, and we really appreciate your presentation and the tidbits of wisdom you could bestow upon us. And to the rest of you, if you have found any value in tonight, we highly suggest that you look into the Marriage Encounter Weekend. It's a 3-day-long intensive for good marriages that want to be great marriages. We really enjoyed our weekend. We really learned a lot, and we are still putting the tools we learned to use in our marriage, and excited about where we're going.
Marriage is one of those things where it's a learning process, and all the help we can get is wonderful. And a big thanks to Heidi's parents for buying us this. I'd never even heard of Marriage Encounter before until Heidi's like, oh, hey, we're doing this. I'm like, cool. And it was, I was asked a few times, like, what did I expect going into it? I didn't expect anything. I had no idea. Coming from Heidi's parents, I knew it would have to be good. Like, it had to have some good depth to it, some good meat to it, and it really did. And so, if not for you, for someone else that you think that would be able to be encouraged and, gain in their marriage by this, definitely it is a great program. So, and thank you all for coming out.
The little cards on your table are conversation starters. Please bring them home and have some good conversations with your spouse.
And can we give these guys another round of applause here? Thank you so much. Oh, thank you.